I don't know if any of you young kids who use this app know that or not, but they are not in fact floppy.
Nothing like a good old tech dad joke. I want to address this, not because it needs to be addressed, but just because I want to address this. Because behind every good dad joke is a question or an observation, and this observation's been around forever. Floppy disks aren't floppy, and then people say, well, the original floppy disk were, and this is the carry on. I guess to understand why this is called a floppy disk when it's not floppy, you have to understand why this is called a hard disk. And better question no one's brought up is, why is this called a disk when it's shaped like a rectangle? And this is a CD-ROM, a compact disc. Hey, that looks like a disc. It is round like a disc and not square. Well, in order to protect your CD-ROM from getting damaged, you need to put it in a jewel case. That way it's protected, doesn't get scratched. Well, same thing applies to a hard disk. Inside a hard disk, you have a series of disks like this. Now this is a floppy disk, and just like your CD-ROM, you want to put your floppy disk inside a protective cover to keep your data safe from getting scratched, lost, and when you have a floppy disk, from getting creased. So let's see what's inside of a floppy disk. And there you go. Now you see why it's a hard disk and why it's a floppy disk. So yes, floppy disks are floppy, but the protective case that it's in is not floppy. It's rather quite rigid. And so there, now you know why a floppy disk is called a floppy disk.